Hello friends, welcome to TechnoStack YouTube channel. As I promised you in the last video that we will see in detail description and learn Snowflake web interface. So here I came up with in detail video on web interface. In this video, we will learn something about the topics. Why interface is needed? What's a key feature of Snowflake web interface over other database interface? Types of Snowflake web interfaces. One is classic web interface and Snowsite web interface. Snowflake options from Snowflake web interface with demo. I hope you will like this video and learn something more today. So why an interface is needed? As we all know, the Snowflake is a cloud database with SSAS model. So that cloud means data is stored across different regions in a data centers. So just storing data is not enough for data engineers, right? So as a data engineer, our job is to play around the data to modify, get meaningful information and transform the data from one form to another form. So just storing data on one repository is not enough role of the data engineer. So to interact with the data, we have to have interface where we can write some code and see the data into visualized form. Hence we need at least one interface. So let's look at the points where we need an interface. One is a programming language. We know the Snowflake is a database, but to interact with the data, we need one programming language which actually understand by machine compiler and give us an expected result from the data center. So Snowflake supports native SQL programming language with some variation of syntax and commands. Hence, to write the code and get result from data, we need interface. Second, interact with Snowflake data. As we discussed, to get the data from data center and do the manipulation and transform of data like join, selection, deletion and updation of data, we require an interface. Memorize the command. So the command which in form of programming language which needs to be memorized or stored in memory so that we can refer those and get the expected result. Hence we need an interface here. Plugin enablement. As a data engineer, we may require to enable features of connecting different data sources or may need to play around different applications. So to make this enable, we need different plugins which can be done using interface. Fifth and not the least is inter-module communication. As a database developer, we need to connect with a different database or servers to interact with different data, right? So that can be possible by using interface. So these are my points which actually help us to understand why an interface is needed. So now let's look at the differences or similarities of Snowflake web interface and other database application interface. So if we talk about this point, this will take a long time to explain and compare with application available in the market. So just to simplify the things, I have compared native Ssms which we commonly use to play with a Microsoft SQL database. So if you look at the Snowflake versus Ssms, Snowflake is a purely cloud-based database application, whereas Ssms is on-premise interface. In a Snowflake, we have a different workspaces, so which will store the query without doing a Control S or manually saving the queries. So in Ssms, we need to save our queries page before closing the application. In a Snowflake accessible on web browser, so as we all know, the Snowflake is a cloud-based database where we can access the Snowflake web interface on the web browser. For Ssms, we need to install Ssms application on our on-premise server or maybe onto the laptop. Then through which you can access the databases. Snowflake is a no case-sensitive programming language, which means that in Snowflake there is a no hardcode limitation on the the programming language case. Any case like uppercase or lowercase, you can write a programming language in the Snowflake. Whereas in the Ssms, it supports only SQL, so SQL is a case-sensitive programming language. Look-wise and field-wise, the Snowflake is quite simpler, whereas the Ssms is quite difficult as compared to Snowflake. In Snowflake, query history and role switching is possible with the interface, but in Ssms, you need to write query to switch your roles and see the query history. So there are much more to discuss about the points, but let's cut it into the shorts. Please comment if you want me to make an in-detail video on this topic. I will definitely try to create one in-detail video of comparison between the web interfaces. So without wasting more time here, let's move to our today's actual topic, that is Snowflake web interface. But before that, please guys subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you like the video so far, and comment your thoughts so that I will understand on which topic you are expecting me to do a next video. So Snowflake provides us two types of web interface. One is classic web interface and second is a Snowsite web interface. There is no major difference between the classic web interface and Snowsite web interface. The options which are available in both the interfaces are almost same, but in Snowsite there's additional features which are added by the Snowflake. So those features we're gonna cover in the next video. In this video we will see the Snowflake classic console and the options available onto the console. So let's go to the Snowflake classic console. Here at the top side, you can see multiple options available like database, shares, marketplace, warehouse, worksheets, and so on. So the visibility of these options are based on the role we selected here, which means if we select non-admin role like public or custom role, then we will not be able to see account options, because Snowflake has very intelligently managed options based on the roles for security purpose. Well, let me know in a comment box if you want me to explain more about roles and users of a Snowflake hierarchy in detail. I will try to create a special video on this topic. So the below white pane is for worksheet. Here we can write our queries to get data from database. At very left side pane, you can see a list of databases which are granted to your roles. These are the worksheet tabs which we can create based on our requirement. The cool feature about the Snowflake tab is we can select the database, schema, and warehouse individually for each worksheet. So let's assume if you have a different role assigned to one user and you want to work on different databases and schema, so simply you can navigate to other worksheet and manage your database name, schema name, and warehouse to execute the query. So the advantage of selecting the database, warehouse, and schema on worksheet level, you need not to mention full qualified name of this object in a query. Snowflake automatically recognizes the database, warehouse, and schema while executing the query. So the blue button is to run your selected query from the worksheet. We have various shortcuts available into Snowflake to enhance productivity. Those options we can see in a Snowsite video, in an upcoming video that I'm going to post. So the below pane is a result and data preview pane, where you can actually see the result or data in a column or table format. You can search any object here from the database. You can collapse object browser to get better worksheet view in the maximized mode. So in Object Explorer pane, if you hover onto any secureable object, you will get basic information of that object like database, created on, and owner of that object. If you hover onto table, you will see table name, owner, name, number of rows, size of the table, and likewise. So if you think how the Snowflake gives this information on hovering on any object, the answer is the Snowflake intelligently storing metadata about secureable object into service layer, meaning in a memory of a Snowflake. So once you hover onto any object from Snowflake, it will fetch object metadata and gives that information to you. So the key point is we need not to write query to see profiling of database like row count, size of the table, and owner of the database and tables. That information we can get it from the metadata. So the metadata storage and use of it is again a very big topic. If you wish to learn those, please comment into the comment box. So the Snowflake provides the Snowflake sample data and Snowflake database as a default database to use. These databases are very useful database to get information about account usage and database information like column name, table name, last loaded date, etc. When you click onto any table or view, you will see the table available columns and its data types. This is a very useful feature of the Snowflake which will help in more productivity. So now let's go to the top level features. So first option is a database. This option is used for creating and maintaining the database objects like schema, tables, view, stored procedure, stages, replications, and so on. So we will see those in detail in this section. So click onto the database. First you can see create and clone option. To create any new database, then you can create it here. Or if you want to create a clone copy of your existing database, you can click onto the clone button. Here you can search databases. Also you can see all the other details regarding your database like origin, which means if you downloaded or imported the database from the Snowflake marketplace. Here I have imported one free database from the marketplace. So it is showing me origin of this database. So also you can see the date and time of the creation of database and owner of it, along with some comment if added while creating the database to understand the purpose of the database. Now you can click onto any database to see its underlying secureable objects like table, schema, view, stored procedure, and functions. So let's click onto the demo DB database. Here you can see a list of tables, views, schemas, stages, file format, sequences, and pipes available into the demo DB database. So if you want to create or manage any of this object, you can click onto the respective tab and see all the details of it. So let's go one by one. Table. Here you can create a table like, clone a table, load a data from local or from cloud storage to the Snowflake table. You can drop the table and you can transfer the ownership of your table to some other users. Note, these options are enabled if you have all the access privileges on the selected database or table.
So inside table tabs, you can see a schema name, creation date and time, owners, rows and size along with the comment information. Similar way, you can check out the views and all other objects detail here. So now let's go to the share tab, click onto the share tab. So share is one of the cool features of Snowflake where you can actually share your database, tables and other objects to your colleague or to the other Snowflake account in secure way with a read-only access privilege. Hence the Snowflake called it as a secure share. So if you ask me what are the objects which we can share by using share feature of the Snowflake. So there are like 5 objects which we can share by using share features. One is tables, second external tables, third the secure views, and fourth the secure materialized view, and fifth is the secure UDFs. So these are the 5 objects which we can share to the another Snowflake account or to the non-Snowflake account. So basically we have 2 types of share here. One is inbound share and outbound share. So inbound share means the database or tables which shared from other Snowflake account to our account. Hence you can see the create database from secure share option available here. Whereas the outbound share means the database or tables shared from our Snowflake account to other account. Secure data sharing allows us to share data with existing Snowflake account or to the non-Snowflake account users. But the non-Snowflake account means the Snowflake creates free reader account and share data on that account which can be accessible from non-Snowflake users. So we will see in detail information regarding reader account and the share in detail in data sharing upcoming video. So now let's go to the marketplace. The Snowflake marketplace utilizes the Snowflake secure data sharing to connect the providers and consumers and share the data in between. So you can discover and access a variety of third-party datasets here. So those datasets can be directly available to your Snowflake account without transferring the actual data, or you can join the datasets with your own data. So these are the cool features that we can do in the marketplace, where you can import and export your data with the as a providers or as a consumers by using secure data sharing concepts. So now let's understand the warehouse options. This topic is very important to understand. I have already prepared one video on warehouse and scaling policy of the Snowflake. I will strongly recommend you to please watch this video to understand this concept. So when you click onto the warehouse option, you will see the warehouse availables in your Snowflake account. So usually in industry, the warehouse is always different, like based on the application or the roles that we use, because the usage and the performance expectation are always different for each application. Like example, HR, finance, and developer, we have 3 different applications or three different roles, so which requires the performance, result set of the data, timing of using the database is always different. So the best practice of creating a separate warehouse and assign those to the different role is good, so that everybody can use their respective warehouse as per their requirement and time. So this is the tab which helps you to create and manage the warehouse. You can create, modify and delete the warehouse from here. Also, you can get all information about the warehouse, like the size of the warehouse, how many cluster in one warehouse, scaling policy which sets the warehouse, like is it running or suspended, auto suspension default time, then created on date time, and then last resume date and owners of the warehouse, and likewise. So you can configure these options by using the options as you can write the command to update the settings. You can manually suspend or resume the warehouse. Also, you can transfer the ownership of the warehouse. So this compute warehouse is default warehouse usually to get all Snowflake users to run basic queries. You can configure this as well to manage the big queries and to get faster results. So now the worksheets, we already covered this previously, though it contains the different independent worksheet where we can write and save the Snowflake code to get the expected results. So now let's see the history tab. The History tab page allows you to view the detail of all query executed in the last 14 days. The page displays a historical listing of the queries, including queries executed from the SnowSQL or other Snowflake SQL clients. The default information displayed for each query includes the current status of the query, like the waiting in queue or running or succeeded or failed. Then the SQL text of your query, then query ID we can see, the information about the warehouse used to execute the query, then query start and end time as well as the duration of it, then the information about the query including number of bytes scanned and number of rows it has written. So this is how the query profile looks like, where you actually analyze the query performance and take the necessary action if required to boost the performance or to analyze the table joins and aggregate functions to minimize the query load. Also, you can find all the details regarding metadata and input-output processing and in-memory utilization. Also, you can see the warehouse utilization, etc. The query profile topics we will see in detail in upcoming videos. So now let's move to the account tab. So this tab is only visible to account admin and security admin role, as here we can manage other roles and its usage. Also, we can modify the permissions and implement the various security features here. So only account admin and security admin can see this tab. So let's click onto the account tab and see what information does it have. So first we can see usage view for your account. Here you can see a credit consumption by each warehouse and how much storage that account has used and how much data that you transferred by month and year. You can also see the usage by day wise here. Then on the second tab, we can see all our billing information. If you wish to change the billing details, you can change it from here. Then we have a user tab where we can alter or create new users. We can see all the other details regarding users like last login date time, login name, display name, creation time, and its default settings, owners, and whether the user has enrolled for MFA authentication or not. By clicking onto the any user, as account admin, you can reset password of any user, drop the user, and disable the user. We have a roles where we can see all the details of Snowflake roles. You can modify and add various grants or permission to the role here. User admin, sysadmin, security admin, account admin, public, and org admins are the system defined roles with some predefined permissions. We can create new custom roles additionally if we need to. Then we have a policy tab where we can block and allow different IP addresses to access Snowflake. This tab is specifically used by security admin if you want to block some IP addresses. Then we have a session tab where you can see all your login sessions and other details like through which driver you have connected to Snowflake. Then we have a very important tab that is resource monitoring tab. Here you can create some alert system or monitoring system which will keep an eye on your resources to help not to go over budget. Like you can create a resource monitor and give a command to Snowflake to monitor the resources and do not shut down the warehouse if it is exceeding the daily monthly credit limits. So here you can see I have created one resource monitor which will monitor my MRF warehouses and stop going beyond my limits. So it is very important to me that this feature not allow me to go beyond the credit limits. Now the last tab is reader account. If you remember, in shares tab we have a discuss about the reader account. So here you can manually create some reader account for the non-Snowflake users. Now let's move to the partner connect. This tab is very important to connect with other technologies or application to integrate with it. So the Snowflake has an entire ecosystem where you can see the different applications to which we can connect from Snowflake for various operations like analyze and the security reasons. We will see in detail about the Snowflake ecosystem in upcoming videos. Next is help. We know every developer or any organization who is using Snowflake need some sort of a help from application support team. So here is the place where you can connect with the Snowflake if we have any questions or help needed. The one or more option is available under help is drivers. You can download the Snowflake supported drivers to connect with your on-premise applications. Like here you can download Snowflake CLI clients, JDBC driver, ODBC driver, Node.js, Spark, and Go Snowflake drivers. Also you can download diagnostic tools called as a SnowCD. Next tab is about notifications. Here you can see all notifications from the Snowflake in case of any release or promotion or beta version is available or published by Snowflake. Next is a snow site. So this is a place where you can actually go and click to reach out the snow site web interface, that is like a Snowflake new modern web UI. So now, last but not the least, and the very last option is like where you can see the detail about your account, like account name, edition, then cloud where your account is hosted, and region. Also, along with this, you can change your password here. Also, you can switch the roles. So we can another option. We have another option called as a preferences, where we can enroll for MFA authentication and configure the notifications where you want to get it, either on web, email, or at all the location, and none. So now you can log out to your Snowflake account at the end from here. So this is all about the Snowflake Classic Web Console walkthrough. I hope I have covered every points and you have learned something new today. I hope you like this video. So if you really like this video, please hit the like button. Also, please subscribe to this channel so that you will get notification when I upload the new video on the Snowflake.